What's up?
Why, hello there, friends! I'm Hunter's player model in Fallout 4 because he couldn't bother to show his face on camera. You know, when I'm not out fighting Macho Man Randy Savage,
Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
And Thomas the Tank Engine. Well, I guess that last one was more my fault. I should have trained harder. I'm actually a volunteer history teacher over in Vault 81. Historicism is described as the theory that all culture and social events are determined by history. In other words, what will happen has some foundation in the past. While there are some aspects of our modern life that support this theory, other times it shows how simplified history can be. But how is it important in the classroom? And how does it affect us as a society? There is a time and there is a place for such information. And that time is now, and that place is not here! So, let's go!
Depending on the class, try to center as much as I can on the people and using the stories of the individual historical figures as kind of a lens into the period. Sometimes that works more effectively than others. So I try to get enough of the big events with some of the details to make sense of it all. But again, if I can, ideally I try to tell the stories of the people and use them as the lens.
Historicism is a pretty solid theory. What happens in the past will influence the future. But the biggest flaw assumed by historicists is that people will interpret the future perfectly. And I can tell you right now, even us Americans don't interpret our history correctly. I'm sure many of us in here have heard the story of George Washington and the cherry tree. Chopped down the tree, he lied to his dad. Well, no he didn't. Uh-oh. He chopped down the tree and told his dad because he said he could never lie. The funny thing is, though, this is a complete false fable, yet almost everyone knows it and thinks it's real. The same thing could be said about Thomas Jefferson.
Well loved, but I think as times change, as people get more culturally proficient, the fact that he's a slave owner and things like that, there's kind of this hypocrisy.
And heck, even our enemies are really poorly written in history. I bet you guys did not see that coming.
Boo! Not cool!
I want to clarify, I'm not defending Hitler. But the fact that Hitler goes down in American history as the worst villain in recent years kind of astounds me, considering that one of our allies was just as bad.
I think that what Stalin did, he did for power. I think that what Hitler did, he did out of irrationality.
We've been talking about him a lot in class. We're trying to figure out if he's truly that passionate, about all these, negative things and things that he would end up acting on, or if it was, targeting these groups and doing all those things was more of like a power grab, and so we're kind of having some students engage with that a little bit.
But all these flaws with historicism, who's to blame? Well, the simple answer is,
Hey, you're not supposed to be up here!
uh-oh. Ninja Vanish!
Ugh, my eyes!
Continuing our discussion about historicism, why there are so many flaws with it, there is just two simple answers. The first one being lack of information.
And history is like that. There is no one history because nobody ever sees it the same.
Let's face it, unless someone is actually interested in learning about history and filling in the blanks, they're not going to care enough to fix or correct anything.
Frustrating thing. In college you can go on a lot more depth, but with a lot of these survey type courses in high school, you have to be a little more thematic. And you have to be selective about what are the details that are really going to tell the story or really, sell it and engage the students. So we have an imperialism unit, world wars units. You can't teach everything that happened in World War II as much as I'd love to. You just have to focus on the big things, the turning points, and the stuff that matters.
This makes it impossible for a teacher to actually go into details on specific moments of time and focus on what was the most prominent. But does this mean that society is doomed to be ignorant to these? Of course not!
Time and distance. That it's difficult to have a neutral perspective at the time.
Times will change. Well, it's obvious that the world won't change overnight. It will eventually change. It's been seen. Societies and people will see the error of their ways and move forward, or look at people in the past and move forward. History is a fickle mess of what-ifs and missing details. We'll never understand completely what has happened, but we can interpret what we think has happened and learn from it. It's who we are as people. There are good people and there are bad people, but eventually the world will change for the better or for the worse. So if you picked up anything from this video, it's that there is always gonna be change. It can be for the good or the bad. It can be through peaceful revolution or a violent revolution. It can be fast or slow, but it all comes eventually. In the meantime, kick back and learn a thing or two about history, as you could be the catalyst of the change in the future.
Oh, well, I'm the type of guy who will never settle down. Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss them